Well, hello, my friend. It's me, Stu, here for you, and I'm joined by the one and only, the lovely Amy Porterfield. Amy, how the heck are you, bud?
I am doing good. How are you?
I am doing great, and I'm excited for our little live here today because we're talking about how to utilize what you already know, love, and do in a slightly different way, which is like you and I joke about it all the time, but memberships and courses, they go together like peanut butter and chocolate.
Yes, they
And
do.
they do. And so one of the things that I love about your focus is it's been all about helping people take what they know, love, and do and turn it into a course. But what's interesting about this is that there are many different types of courses, and you've really opened my eyes to this. We'll kind of unpack this here in a little bit. And that's what we want to talk about today, are like the different types of courses. And we've got a great resource to give everybody that will help guide them in terms of thinking about what type of course might be a right fit for them and their business and based on where they're at. Before we dive into that, though, Aim, give us some quick background because your journey, you've been helping tens of thousands of people on this. And so I just want to get your sense of like, where are we at right now in the landscape of, business as it relates to courses?
Okay, so I love this question. Last year when COVID hit, I was like, "Oh my goodness, what is this going to mean for my course creator students and what the landscape's going to look like?" But instantly I started to see that the world opened up to the possibility of learning online. It was the silver lining in something really hard that most people went through. And so what happened was that people that never thought about learning online before were in a situation that was their only option. So they started to do things like learn business strategies online, or personal things like hobbies like canning tomatoes, or how to get their dog to stop jumping on people when they ran through the door, whatever it might be, like regular life stuff plus business stuff. People realized, wait a second, the only way I'm going to figure out my challenges is to go online and learn through courses. So what happened was they started to realize, wait a second, this is totally accessible, way cheaper than what I've experienced in person. I don't have to drive to go do it, and I can do it at my own time. And all of a sudden, people loved learning online. So we saw the landscape just blossom. Like, so many people were excited to try this new way of learning. So what happened was more and more people were open to the possibility, which just made it so much better for the course creator. So if you started to see a lot of people creating courses right now, it's because there is a very huge demand for it. Because as the world slowly gets back to normal, people now have been introduced to a new way of learning and they love it. So there's no better time than right now to create your digital course.
You know what's fascinating about this too? I was talking to a friend of mine who he works in downtown Toronto with a big, investment company, and he's been doing that for goodness me, I think like 15 plus years. And I was talking to him about how work is changing, and he was saying that now, like, so many people, in particular in his firm, are not going back and they are staying home. And then similarly, I share that because another friend of mine, I was talking to him, Josh, and he was saying how now he's saved literally an hour a day in commuting,
Yes.
and he's using that time, like he's using that time to further himself. And it's just fascinating how just this whole period, as much as I, would love for COVID to have been, gone and not a thing, it's created a change in the way in which we live our lives. And one of the things that you said, which I really want to highlight, is that people in the beginning were forced to get comfortable online. You just look at the Zoom stats as an example. Like, I think they went from like 10 million users to 200 million users.
Oh, yeah. So
Like,
my husband Hobie had never been on a Zoom call in his life before COVID, for the record. Now he's a professional. Like, people never even had to deal with that. And then all of a sudden they're totally comfortable on camera.
that's it, right? And this is what's so fun about this period, because although everything that we went through, listen, I would never want
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole COVID experience on anyone, but it has created some very interesting scenarios. And as you said, now is an incredible time for that. And so I would love to just throw to you one quick question before we dive into the different types of courses. But how do you see courses and memberships fitting together? Because you and I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've been dear friends for so long, and you've been helping people, tens of thousands of people, create courses. I've been doing the same with membership sites, and we've always talked about them being together. But I just loved your take on how you see courses and memberships fitting together.
I absolutely love the idea of alignment between the two. I have a membership and I have courses. You have a membership, you have courses. We both walk the talk, and we're a great example of that, but so many of our students as well. So the way I love to tell my students about the value of courses and memberships together is that they always say, well, where does the course go? Since I teach courses, does it go before the membership or after the membership? Or does it have to go with it? And I said, all of the above. This is the beautiful thing about how courses and memberships work together. You can put a membership in front of a course, lead people into your course if they want to go deeper and they want that step by step. Or like me, you can have a membership after your course when people don't want to stop working with me and they want to stay with it and they want to continue the journey. They get to continue that in a membership with me. But there's also this idea of your membership and course can be totally separate. They don't have to feed into each other. And now you have two ways of making money for your audiences who need different things. So they literally work so well together. And here's what I want to say. If someone's willing to take a course, they will be just as excited to get into a membership. If someone's willing to get into that membership and they want to learn from you, they will be just as excited to learn in a different way through the course. But one thing I want you to explain, and I think this is so important because I know a lot of people in my audience will be watching as well. People will say, what's the difference between a course and a membership? I think you really explain this beautifully. Will you say that really quickly?
Yeah, well, typically a course has a start and an end. And this is where you're teaching people what to do and how to do it. And you're going deep. This is where they're learning like new skills real time.
Yeah.
One of the next steps for somebody going through a course is that now they're looking for that ongoing support in helping them implement what they've learned. So in the course is where they're learning it, and the membership is really where they're practicing the implementation of it. And I think this is why they go so well together. Now, one of the things, though, that I made a mistake on that you've really opened my eyes to, Amy, was that I used to only see courses, there was essentially one type of course. And it was like, this is like I know you have a better.
I call it the Mac Daddy.
Yeah, the Mac Daddy, the Mac Daddy. Okay, so I was always thinking about the Mac Daddy course. And but there are so many different types of courses. And when you started unpacking this for me, like I started to realize that, hold on a second, I've only ever thought of like having one course, but now there are all kinds of ways that we could introduce people from our audience into our business through different types of courses. And so I'd love for you to kind of unpack this a little bit if you can, and talk us through some of the different types of courses.
Yes. Okay. I love this because as I go through these three different types of courses, I want you to feel the opportunity. There's so many things you could do with courses and how to get started. So the first type of course is a starter course. And this is that jumping off point, that beginning, getting people started in the right direction. So you're giving them just enough momentum to get dip their toe in the water and continue to go. So my very first course I ever created that was successful, I've had a few failures in the beginning. My first successful course was FB Influence. It was Facebook Influence. I did it with Lewis Howes, and it was how to get started with Facebook. It wasn't how to market your entire business on Facebook. It wasn't all Facebook ads or anything like that. Just how to get started. Here's the basics. Typically, a starter course is anywhere from $47 all the way up to $200. That's usually the price point. You're not promising the moon to them or the world. You're just promising enough to get them started. The second type of course is a spotlight course. Now, a spotlight course is where you take one topic that you are an expert in, meaning you've gotten results in this area, and you're going to go deep into that one area, and you're going to spotlight that one area that you know well. So let me give you an example. One of my students, Rob Green, he's a photographer. He would go out and photograph, usually at weddings. And during COVID, he wasn't getting any appointments and he needed to make money. And so with that, he decided, okay, I've been thinking about creating a course forever. Now's the time. No more excuses. So he created a digital course on flash photography. Now, Rob knows tons about photography, equipment, posing, getting clients. Like, he knows a lot, but he took that one area because every time he showed someone a photograph he took with flash photography, they'd say, how do you do that? It looks so natural. That looks like natural lighting. How are you doing that? Pay attention when people ask you, how are you doing that? That could definitely be a course for you. So he did this flash photography course, never launched anything online, never had a digital course, had a list of around 100 people, and he made $12,000 with this one spotlight course.
Wow.
And I really do believe that if Rob can do this, so can you, because he was very surprised about his results. He's like, what? I can't believe it. So
and what, sorry to interrupt, Amy, but what I love about like Rob's example there is that this was a very specific,
yes,
deep dive on, he didn't cover all the things of photography. It wasn't like an all-encompassing Mac Daddy course, as you would say, but it was like, it was very specific about a very particular, area that people were asking him about, or a specific problem, so to speak. And I think when we are looking at serving our audience, there are all kinds of spotlight courses that we could create.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where my eyes really got opened up, because it was just like, hold up, Stu. Sometimes people aren't going to want to like dive right into the deep end. Like, a spotlight course is a great way as an entrepreneur to bring people in from different angles. Can you kind of speak to that?
Yes, because when you do a spotlight course, you are able to promise really solid results. But as a course creator, you don't have to throw everything in the kitchen sink into that. So it's actually an easier course for you to create, but it's also a topic that is easily like grabs people's attention because it's not watered down. It's not general. It's not basic, but it's like, oh, there's a very specific outcome I'm going for. Boom. If you want to know flash photography and you see Rob talking about that, you instantly know it's for you. And so that's the value of such a very specific course.
And for me, like, I always think about our audience, and I think about them like going to Google and typing in a specific problem.
Exactly.
And when you have a spotlight course that's speaking directly to that problem, it immediately draws them in. Like, I'll give you an example. So I hate to admit this, Amy, but I'm starting to get a little bit older, and as I'm getting older, I am getting more and more stiff, particularly in my hips. Now, I've been an athlete.
Stop it. You sound
I know.
80 years old right now.
Come on. Look at you. You look amazing. I on the other hand, I'm becoming an old man.
Stop
So anyways, I've been an athlete my whole life, but in my 20s, I didn't have to warm up. I didn't have to cool down. Now I have to do all those things so that I can continue to do those things. And I realized like I'm really getting stiff, like in my hips, and it's affecting a whole bunch of other things. Like I'm getting injured more, my performance, et cetera, et cetera. So long story short, I share all this background because when I was scrolling through Facebook, there was an ad that was specifically speaking to hips and stretching your hips. Now, it wasn't like an all-encompassing yoga course,
right?
And if it was, I probably would have just kept on scrolling, but it
Sure.
spoke specifically to the problem that I was experiencing, and I bought it. And so this is what I love when you shared about spotlight courses for me. It just immediately like bing opened up my eyes and was like, oh my gosh, like this is a massive opportunity, because when we can identify like problems that our market are facing, we can create these spotlight courses that speak directly to that. And it's a great way to bring people into our world.
It really is. You just made me think of something. So, a lot of people will get concerned about creating a course if it's been done before. Like, oh, I want to do this, but it's already been done before. And I always say, it's never been done before by you. And Stu and I create products all the time that other people are creating products about. So, we never worry about that. However, one way to kind of drill down a little bit more on your expertise is really ask yourself, in my area of expertise, what do I really enjoy talking about? What am I really good at? Again, what do people ask me about? So let me give you two quick examples. I have a lot of hairstylists in my community. I have a lot of people of all different walks of life, but I'm thinking of two hairstylists in specifically. One, his name is Hunter, and he's really good at the customer experience of when someone comes and sits into your chair. He's really good at figuring out how to work with them, how to talk to them, how to get their appointment on the book, how to get them to make another appointment. He's good at that customer experience, and people always ask him how he did it. He made an entire course, $25,000 later, an entire course on how to teach other stylists how to have this customer experience with people in your chair. $25,000 for a hairstylist is a lot of time on your feet in people in that chair. Like that job is physical, and the fact that he found another way to supplement his income is life-changing. Another one of my students, she's a stylist, but she's really good on balayage. Stu, do you know what that is?
No, I don't.
All right, when I said it, I was like, he will have no idea. It's a way to color hair. Typically, women do balayage. It's a really cool way to color your hair. She's really good at that. So she created an equally successful course on balayage. So we have these people that are in the same field, but they went with a spotlight course and they were able to stand out. And that's what I think is so cool. There's enough room for all of us.
Yeah. And I just think of like, when we're looking to attract, our ideal customer, when we can help them with a specific problem, we immediately create so much trust in that process that they naturally are going to want to do business with us, whether that be with a bigger Mac Daddy course or whether it be in a membership, et cetera. So this is why I personally gravitated toward the Spotlight course when you told me about it. So we've talked about the starter course, which is great for helping people get started with a particular area. The Spotlight course, which speaks to specific problems and goes deep on those, just like the examples that you have shared, the balayage, the Rob the photographer with flash photography.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting nervous about any other examples where you're going to put me on the spot where I don't know anything. But some great examples. But what's the next type of course that you would give us as an example?
Yes, and before I forget, usually between $200 and $500 for a Spotlight course. I know that's a question I typically get. So the third type of course is the Mac Daddy, but we don't officially call it that. We call it a signature course. So a signature course is promising a very big transformation. You're taking them from point A to point Z and teaching them everything in between that they want to know to get a really big transformation. So for example, Tribe is a signature course. So you are learning from scratch how to create and launch a membership. So you just want to think about, if you're really going to promise a big transformation, that's a bigger course. It takes longer to create. I don't suggest it for my first-time course creators, although some of them have great success with that. And typically it's from $500 to all the way up to $3,000.
Okay, so I want to ask you, I'm just making notes here myself. I want to ask you the difference between the size of these courses, because you said obviously a Mac Daddy signature course, I'm going to call it the Mac Daddy, but the signature course it's much longer and it takes more time. So can you contrast that to and compare that to a Spotlight course? Like what would be the difference in terms of the amount being taught?
So although there are no hard and fast rules, I've seen signature courses that are very short, but they're packed with a punch. But typically a benchmark is a starter course is at least 3 modules, which are like 3 major topics, and then a few videos underneath each topic, usually short videos. You can get through a starter course usually in a weekend, maybe a week max. With a Spotlight course, that's going to get a little bit more in detail. It could be 3 modules, maybe 4 or 5 modules, but you're probably you have to get into more detail because you're very specific with that topic. A signature course typically is 5 modules with, again, modules are across the top and then we do short videos underneath each module. 5 to 7, maybe even more. And it will take people 30 days or 60 days to get through your course. So that one is typically more robust. And usually with a signature course, you're going to offer some kind of support. You and I do Facebook groups. You could do a Slack group. You can do Voxer, but you're offering some kind of support through for a limited time so that people won't get stuck along the way, because it's a more complicated process.
So if simple stew brain starter course, it would take somebody a few days to go through.
Yeah.
A spotlight course, maybe 1 to 2 weeks to go
Yes.
through, and then a signature course, multiple weeks to go through.
Yes.
Got it. And then in terms of creating it, obviously, because the starter and spotlight are shorter in length, my guess is that those are so much faster to create.
Yes. So that's why I tell my first time course creators, let's do a starter or a spotlight, unless you really are heart set on the signature. Because here's the thing, you can always move something into a signature course down the road. And I just don't want people to get stuck and not ever get their course out there.
Got it. Buddy, this has been amazing. Like I'm sitting here taking notes. I've taken notes on the starter course, which typically $47 to $200 that you would charge for that. It's really about helping people get started on a particular topic. Usually 3 modules with a few lessons underneath. Yeah. Fast and easy to get started in terms of creating, and certainly easy for people to consume. They're going to consume it in a few days. A spotlight course, this is where you go deeper on a particular subject area, just like Rob, the photographer, spoke, teaching on flash photography, and all of the hairstylists, with balayage. Did I pronounce that right again?
You're never going to forget that word now.
I know. I almost feel like balayage is like some erotic dance or something. I don't. Anyways, so balayage, got it. But it's going deep, and typically those courses are going to be anywhere between $200 to $500. Again, 3 to 5 modules max, and it's going to take somebody a couple weeks to go through. And then the signature course, much more robust. Typically, you're going to charge $500 to $3,000 for that. 5 to 7 modules, multiple weeks for them to go through, and it includes a lot more support. So it takes a lot more to create that, but obviously a lot more that you can charge for that. Amy, this has been amazing, and I want to talk about for people who are entertaining the idea of, okay, I could see how, given these different types of courses, where they might fit in my business, but where do I go next and what do I do next?
Yes.
I know you've got a great quiz at mycoursequiz.com, which kind of helps guide people in terms of knowing which direction to go based on their business and where they are on their journey. Can you kind of speak to us a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm loving your URL, mycoursequiz.com. That's really good. I should have thought of that. And here's the thing, why I created the quiz. A lot of people, when they start to think about creating a course, the first question they'll say is, I don't even know where to start. Where do I actually start? And now that you know the 3 types of courses, you might be thinking, oh, I think a starter or spotlight, or you might be having some ideas, but there's actually a very specific place to start depending on where you are in your entrepreneurial journey. And so depending on what kind of results you've gotten for yourself or for your clients or customers, I'm going to help you figure that out. And then the quiz takes 2 minutes, but then I'm going to give you personalized, here's how to get started details. So you're going to have action items, and I'm going to give you a few examples of people that are similar to you and what they created and the results that they got. So you do not want to miss this. This is a very actionable resource. 2 minutes to take the quiz. Go take it now.
So I want to encourage everybody, you're watching this, go to mycoursequiz.com, take the quiz. You're going to answer a bunch of questions, and then Amy's going to give you specific feedback on the type of course that would be most relevant for you based on your business and where you are in your business journey. And I will tell you that when I went through this process myself, the reason that I got so dang excited was because my thought of a course was always the Mac Daddy course. And what I started to realize was that there was a way to incorporate spotlight courses into our business to help us with attracting more people into our business. So the one thing that I thought was really relevant about this, Amy, is you've really geared the feedback based on the way in which people respond. And for me, what I came out the other end, your recommendation for me was spotlight courses. because it's a great way for us to attract new people into our business. So I just love the way in which you've structured this. And again, I want to recommend everybody go to mycoursequiz.com. Ames, as we wrap up, any final thoughts for everybody?
I'll just say that when you take the quiz, you can, now that you know the types of quizzes, you can figure out, or types of courses, you can figure out, I'm thinking Spotlight. Then you take that information and what I tell you in the quiz, then you can run with that. So start thinking of the type of course you want to create. Then I'm going to tell you the path that you should take based on your entrepreneurial journey. It all will come together once you take the quiz. But I love that we talked about types here. The quiz will go beyond the types. It's going to be really great. Thank you, Stu. And I will say, I believe everybody has a course in them. Everybody has gotten results for themselves or for somebody else, and they can teach that in a quiz. The only thing that is stopping you from creating a digital course is that you think maybe you don't have what it takes or that you don't know what to do. Take the quiz. It will get you moving in the right direction.
Buddy, you're amazing. Thank you for this. Again, I want to encourage everybody to go to mycoursequiz.com. 2 minutes, answer a few questions. You're going to get specific feedback in terms of the type of course that you should be creating and specific how-tos in terms of what your next steps are. Plus, and this is a really big thing, you provide a ton of examples, which I find so incredibly valuable because, when you get to see how people are applying this, just like Rob, just like the hairstylist, just like the example I was sharing earlier, the difference between yoga and specifically focusing on hips, you start to realize like, oh my gosh, like I could see how this would be applied in my business. So go to mycoursequiz.com, take it, and look to begin incorporating quizzes into your business. Amy, thank you so much, buddy. You're